Programs at PA CareerLink Lehigh Valley are funded in whole or in part by federal funds. Detailed information can be found at lvwib.org/Stevens-amendment.
Welcome to the Business and Industry Podcast Series, sponsored by the Workforce Board Lehigh Valley and Bosch Community Fund. This is Jenni Silfies, a student intern at the Workforce Board Lehigh Valley, located in the center of Lehigh Valley's workforce system called PA CareerLink Lehigh Valley. I am here today with Chief of Culture, Personnel, and Vice President of Human Resources, Mr. Toby Borcoman from Tyber Medical, an orthopedic medical device manufacturer right here in Bethlehem. Thank you so much for joining me today as I research options for all Lehigh Valley students who are deciding career pathways and what we need to know about the knowledge, skills, and abilities needed to secure our future. We are on a journey to understand Lehigh Valley career pathways so we can examine our own education, training, and the Lehigh Valley's employment options. So, here we go, and I welcome Mr. Borcoman.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Mr. Borcoman, can you please explain to all the students listening to this podcast what Tyber Medical does?
Yeah, so we're a medical device manufacturer. So we design, develop, do all the regulatory approvals of medical device, spinal implants, orthopedic applications across the world. So anything from extremity surgery to you hurt your back, anything trauma, car accidents, things like that, we design, develop, and manufacture those type of products.
Thank you so much for giving me that answer. What made you choose manufacturing at Tyber Medical as a career option, and how did you get started at the company?
I kind of got lucky, really, is what it comes down to. I wanted to be in the NBA, and it didn't work out for me, unfortunately. So I found myself kind of gravitating into medical devices. You know, you think about surgery, you think about people in pain. The stuff we do here and manufacture here at Tyber Medical really can change and alleviate pain for patients across the globe. So nobody wants to get in a car wreck. Of course they don't. Nobody wants to hurt their back. Nobody wants to have hammer toes. Nobody asks for these things, but we're the company that can really, really help. And the technology is just through the roof. I know you had a second part to that question. How did I get started at Tyber Medical? Well, I've known Jeff Tyber for many, many years. So our paths had crossed many times over the years, maybe 20-ish years ago. He recruited me to come up here and convinced me that we were going to be a top-notch company, and he was right.
Yeah, honestly, it's really cool to see how much manufacturing and the medical field can grow together. So career pathways are the rage, and I understand Tyber Medical has developed 2 career pathways through the Workforce Board Lehigh Valley. Please walk us through the positions and knowledge, skills, and abilities of your career pathways so we can get to know Tyber Medical.
Yeah, so we've got a bunch of different career pathways. So since you've received our basic career pathways from a while back, and thanks to the Workforce Board for helping me out with that back in the day. Before I kind of talk about these, it's really important for folks to know that career pathways are what separate us at Tyber Medical from a lot of other companies. So nothing against the Amazons of the world and Walmarts of the world. It was important to myself and Jeff Tyber to create scalable positions that people can obtain. And through a lot of hard work and effort through a lot of folks here, a lot of folks have gone into these, if you want to call them pipelines, and have progressed. So there's multiple people here that have come in at level 1, let's say, and now are at level 3. We just had a company announcement of 2 promotions of folks that have actually scaled here. So not only did we create it, we're actually doing it. So it's really, really interesting to me and fun at the same time. So when you come into Tyber Medical on the manufacturing side, typically folks from vocational schools, LCTI, Bethlehem Votech, people that kind of are gravitated to machines, how they work, or maybe their folks are working in machine shops, things like that, typically. We also have folks that have no manufacturing experience, didn't go to Votech, that were just kind of stumbled into it, really. One story I like to tell is I hired my Uber driver from 3 years ago that has been promoted 3 times since he's been here. But typically you come in as what's called a manufacturing technician or advanced manufacturing technician, and these are kind of the ground floor positions. These are entry-level positions where it just requires attention to detail, positive attitude, which is huge at a great company like this one, and willingness to try new things and not be afraid to make mistakes, because they're going to happen. That's kind of the entry point, if you will. So that would include what's called secondary operations here. Anything from even light maintenance to cleaning floors to anodizing, getting product ready and prepped for a certain part of manufacturing, laser marking, anodizing, dry ice blasting, bead blasting, sand blasting. So these secondary operations where after some training, if somebody's attentive to detail, they can do them under supervision of a subject matter expert, if you will. After a certain amount of time, we have testing and training along the way to make it to a level 2 position, which many folks have the last couple years that have been here and gotten it done. What that would basically entail is there is some testing. I want to say there's a 50-question test for manufacturing right now. Of some of the questions are a little bit more advanced, from tolerances, actual drawings, to actually be able to show us that you know where a dimension of a product is for these tolerances, and you would have to have a certain amount of experience in one of these buckets. To make it to what I would say is a level 3 position in machining, it's going to require a certain amount of time, more testing, and the ability to show us you know how to set up a machine. So when you think about a setup of a machine, whether you're in manufacturing or not, some of these machines are $400,000 pieces of equipment. So let's use an example of you're working in a car shop. In comes the Ferrari. Well, if Toby works at the Ferrari shop tomorrow, maybe I know how to change the oil. Maybe I know how to rotate a tire, put air in the tires. That would kind of be that level 1. To actually change spark plugs, to change the coils of the machine and take the engine out and put it back in requires significant experience. And that's similar to what a level 3 advanced manufacturing technician at Tyber Medical would do, because if we change a product line of a certain size of product going into one of these very large machines, it takes a full tooling takeout and new tools need to be put into this machine. So as much as I would love to say that somebody off the street could do it, you could not. You wouldn't be able to without significant experience at Tyber Medical. All across the board, we have folks from 40 years experience all the way down to folks that are just from LCTI, 1 weekend, people that are temp to hire and give it a go, if you will. That would take you up from, you get to the level 3, you can go on to programming, into managerial positions, to lead positions, people management, technical leadership, all the way up to a manager of manufacturing. And it's really fun to see that folks that have progressed their careers here. And there's a lot of them. A lot of the people that we walk by on our tour have made it to next level positions. Quite a few of them, actually. So that's the exciting part. It's all about the pathway and scalability at Tyber Medical.
That's really interesting, and it's really good for prospective students to know how they can advance in your company over time. Could you tell us a little more about your other career pathway in quality control?
Yeah, so quality control is in parallel to manufacturing. So you have folks that make the product on the machines, and then they do basically a systems check on the machine and their first product. After that, there is a lot of product that comes out. So let's say we've programmed the machine, we've set up the machine with our advanced folks, it's ready to go. We then put in the job onto the machine. Maybe it's making 50 parts, maybe it's making 150 parts. Once it comes off the machine, there's a heck of a lot more that needs to be done, specifically in quality control. So the first step of a quality control position would be a quality inspector level 1. This would include visual functional inspection of the products to make sure there's no defects or burrs, because when you cut metal, there's typically going to be burrs on certain products. It's just going to happen because it's metal on metal cutting. They check for burrs, they check for basic defects, they check for the size of the product, so they use micrometers and calipers, and we train folks how to do these, with no experience. That position is really, really attentive to detail, because again, these products, there cannot be a defect. We're regulated through multiple governing bodies internationally and the FDA, so no product is allowed to make it past these rigorous inspections. So after a quality inspector level 1, there's more sophisticated equipment that's in use, from Silvacs to Keonces to optical comparators. These are programmable devices as well that will basically three-dimensionally check the products. So it's not only do I see something, now it's checking the dimensions of what the machine's cut. So you think about programming these devices, there's a certain level of experience that comes into play. You'll have to know geometrical tolerancing, you'd have to know how to read blueprints, so much more advanced. So that would be quality inspector 2 and 3. A technician, which would be the next tier of position, would be somebody that was actually programming these. So you can operate them, which takes a certain level of experience, but then to actually program them is a different skill set, which requires, and we just sent 3 folks out for training on CMM down in North Carolina. So this is using a specific software to have the machine check different dimensions, different flat line, different top line, all the way through. So it's almost like a giant table, but the actual programming of the device is very, very sophisticated and takes a lot of experience. So we just sent 3 employees down there for that training. That'd be a quality control technician. A team lead is going to be able to do all of those things and also schedule folks. So there's a certain amount of product that needs inspected all the time. We don't want too little, we don't want too much, so they would be in charge of a pocket team, if you will. Our quality control supervisor, number of years experience in medical device, takes a long time to escalate to that level of position, because top to bottom you need to be able to do capacity, programming, visual, functional, all the way down to what you do with non-conforming products. So what happens if a product is not in specification? You don't just throw it in the garbage can, because there's a lot more to it, because we're regulated. Well, what happened to that piece of metal, right? So there's a big process. Everything's process and procedure here because of those regulations. So it takes a long time to ascend in those roles, but quality is absolutely paramount at a company like ours.
Thank you so much. And it's great to know that there are 2 very different paths that new employees here can follow. As students, we are certainly interested in jobs at Tyber Medical, but equally interested in your company's culture and work environment. Please comment on this, Mr. Borcoman.
So work environment is huge to me. I believe in work-life balance as best you can. And when you come into work, it should be as fun and as collaborative as possible. So at Tyber Medical, Jeff Tyber he walked into my office back when we were just a handful of people. And he's like, hey, you have culture. And I was like, well, what is that? I don't even know what that is. And to me, it's an actual energy of a company. And it stems typically from leaders of the company. So what I did and what Jeff did is, we're service-driven leaders. We are not your typical executives that are, I don't want to say unapproachable, but any employee has access to us at all times. That includes weekends, nights. We try to accommodate every employee, but we have a lot of fun here. We had a hot dog eating competition that was just on the news. We had a Star Wars night where we rented out the entire movie theater in Trexlertown with custom-made lightsabers. We had a trivia night on site. We had a company-wide talent show in Bethlehem, where I did not get any votes, but that's a different story. We have a professional magician on staff, a professional clown on staff, a professional opera singer, multiple musicians, wannabe comedians. Jeff Tyber played the Dude Diggory. So what we've had, I want to say 15 food trucks in the last year and a half. We had an ice cream truck twice, 2 minor league baseball games, a company-wide golf scramble. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. I don't even have anything written out. So one of the goals I had was for this company especially is all of these fun things we do, and we have a 10-year celebration coming up next month. where it's our 10-year anniversary. It's a huge party that'll be out at Bear Creek Mountain Resort. We're flying up our entire division in Florida, including family members, which I mean, I can't even begin to tell you budget-wise what this has done to my budget. But it's really important from Jeff Tyber that we're here and their families are part of this. So my kids know people that work here. I know folks' kids that work here. It's very, very family friendly. It's inclusive. And my number one goal is when we do a fun event, which is very frequently, you go because you're a part of this company, not because your boss is there. It absolutely is a mission failure for us if that be the case. So for us, we won the number 19 rated company in the state of Pennsylvania for culture, which I think is phenomenal and has nothing to do with me. It's just the people we hire are all really fun-loving, collaborative, kind, caring, will reach across the hall. They help you off the clock. It's really, really something here.
It really does sound like you're one big happy family here at Tyber Medical. Would you please talk about summer jobs, part-time and full-time opportunities available here at Tyber?
Yeah, so right now we have some part-timers. We've got summer help that typically comes in, full-time opportunities. So we have anything from, you name it, engineering, machine shop, quality control, obviously. People that want to, sometimes we do temp to hire, try it on for size. They're like, hey, I'm just looking for an opportunity. I don't even know if I would like it, but they just have a great attitude. Sometimes those folks come in here and just do phenomenal. So we have custodial needs, we have machine operation needs, we have quality control needs. I typically bring on summer help for engineering, co-ops. If you saw out there's nine engineering interns right now that are from various schools, all the way from University of Tennessee to University of Michigan to Lehigh University. We have a tremendous pipeline from Lehigh. Pretty much, I want to say almost everything's on the table, from manufacturing, engineering, regulatory, quality, and just general operations and logistics as well, which I didn't hit on, which would be packaging, labeling, shipping, receiving, which is, you think about picking and packing from like an Amazon type company. It's a lot more sophisticated than that because of, again, these are spinal implants. So there's a little bit more of a process involved.
As Vice President of Human Resources, do you recommend any classes that we should take in high school to work in manufacturing in the future?
That's a good question. So classes, mathematics is always good. I know there's not typically blueprint reading in school. It might be Spanish, and then if you can do blueprint reading. I'm a big fan of general business and accounting, because what I've found that gets lost in the shuffle typically is a business is an entity, right? So we have a culture here, but Tyber Medical is a business at the same time. So if you have a fundamental understanding of, while we might be an X dollar revenue company, there's also expenses involved, right? These machines, they're not free, right? The electricity, all of these things to scale as a company, just a general business understanding, I think can help, whether it's manufacturing or anything. For those that have ever owned a business, there's a lot to it.
On behalf of all the students in Lehigh Valley's 17 school districts, we appreciate you for taking the time to provide us with the education, training, knowledge, skills, and abilities to get us on the right career pathway track at Tyber Medical. Is there any other message you have for students in high school?
For me, having a high school student myself is trying different things is a good thing. Right? So people who want to be doctors, people who want to be machinists, people who want to be police officers, people who want to be firemen. I understand all those things, but the more ability you have to just try something new, you'd be very surprised how when you try something new that you think you might not like, you might absolutely love.
Thank you so much, Mr. Borcoman.
Thank you for having me on your podcast. It was a wonderful experience.
Students and graduates, if you think Tyber Medical could be the right fit for you, visit careerlinklehighvalley.org or look up PA CareerLink Lehigh Valley on your school's kiosk to learn more about Tyber Medical and their career pathways. Employers, if you have not yet created a career pathway, the Workforce Board Lehigh Valley will provide you with a career pathway template and personnel assistance. This ends our episode with Mr. Toby Borcoman from Tyber Medical. And remember to look for the links posted with this podcast.